From Appoint Productions and WUWM, this is Classic Eats. I'm Kyle Johnson Cherek. This week on Classic Eats, I square up with journalist and author Bobby Tanzillo as we get our fill of the history of the American culinary delicacy, frozen custard. It's eggs, cream, sugar, and more, all perched on top of a freshly rolled waffle cone for this episode of Classic Eats. But first, a story. It's 1919 and the milk delivery business is barely making ends meet. Your route, bringing fresh milk and ice cream from your family farm in south central Pennsylvania to the back porches and the 19th century's bustling powerhouse in York, just doesn't meet the industrious of all three of you, the brothers Core, Archie, Claire, and Elton. Even as your horse and wagon deliveries were supplanted by Henry Ford's Model T, its very sight on the streets of York, Pennsylvania, a slight to the Pullman York Auto Company, the maker of luxury cars headquartered in York all through your youth. Yes, even with deliveries aided by the Model T, each of you yearned for wider markets and new ways to sell the family's dairy goods. What historians would later call the Second Industrial Revolution had just ended 5 years earlier in 1914, and in its wake it had left a nation full of machine shops, tinkerers, and idea men, all with plans for making everything from a better egg beater to a faster sewing machine, from an automated spinning jenny to the incandescent bulb. For you, the Core brothers, your gadget would be the Meisenhelter ice cream freezer and ice cream maker. For the first time in history, a machine that flowed the grand and cold stuff continuously. With this machine, crowds would queue for a taste of what 100 years ago was only made for kings and the lavishly wealthy, crafted for hours by their private chefs. Now, with this machine, married with your milk from your Core family dairy, you three brothers will strike out to new ventures and bring the rare and refreshingness of ice cream to the masses. They'll come to us, each of you thought. No more hauling bottles of milk over back steps, from avenue to street corner through weather and early morning work. We'll set up shop at fairs and gatherings, anywhere we can find idle crowds, enjoying the newest invention of the working class of America, leisure time. After all, since the turn of the century, there are so many more of us here, immigrants from every corner of Europe, coming to America's East Coast towns and cities, growing the population by more than 30 million in less than 20 years. Give the people what they want, and the man who can build a better mousetrap will have the world beat a path to their door. You set up a stand in Elsmore, Delaware, at the Delaware Fair. But to no avail, the sales are tepid, and your grand dreams of fortunes made by a great instant frozen treat elude you all. Far from outdone, you each tinker and test and rework the Meisenhelter until you make it something entirely your own. A new machine that meets the needs you all are certain lay out there. It's your worldly Uncle Sylvester, known to be well-traveled, who suggests Coney Island, so named Coney Island by the Dutch when they arrived in the 1600s and found, beyond the shore and sand and wilderness, scarcely anything but an abundance of rabbits. Coney Island is the place your uncle urges, with its throngs of Manhattan's working classes teeming to its shores for respite from the heat, clamor, and crowds of the city. At Coney Island, the boardwalk is broad, the beach free to all, and thrills from roller coasters to ice cream are there for the paying customer. But wait now, there's one more innovation to be made by two of the brothers, Elton and Archie, to hedge against their Core's ice cream melting in the warm ocean air. Eggs are mixed in at just the right moment in the flavored cream's way to being served, and with the moniker frozen custard. The Core brothers have invented a new American food at one of the most iconic of American places in the early 20th century. selling 18,000 plus servings of core frozen custard for a nickel each at your first weekend at Coney Island, the core name and innovation will persist to this day, synonymous with the famous boardwalk and frozen custard. This is a show about culinary history, why we eat what we eat, the people, the places, the scenes and situations that set the course for the way we dine. Each show, we pick a thing, a person, a drink, a movement, or an object that made its mark on what we call food. Today, I'm sitting down with journalist and author Bobby Tanzillo as we discuss the many delicious merits of frozen custard. Bobby Tanzillo, how do you introduce yourself?
Oh, God. I guess I just say I'm the senior editor and writer at onmilwaukee.com.
Okay, which is?
It is a daily online city magazine that is now 25 years old, if you can believe that.
I can believe that.
Independent media has survived.
Yeah, and what do you do? Like, what's your beat?
Sort of architecture / history / kind of using buildings as an excuse to kind of talk about people in a roundabout sort of way.
Okay.
But I also write about beer and whiskey. And I do a lot of arts stuff as well. I write about music and things like that.
The reason I'm talking to you for the Classic Eats podcast is because you co-wrote a book about frozen custard.
Yes.
And as far as I can tell in my food historian research, it is the seminal microtome on the subject. There isn't a lot out there. So if one has never consumed, enjoyed, had the rapturous experience of frozen custard, what is it? And what isn't it?
It is ice cream.
It's one of those things that all custards are ice cream, but not all ice creams are custard.
Exactly.
Like all bourbons are whiskey, but not all whiskeys are bourbon.
That's exactly correct.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
And the reason it's custard is because it has eggs in it.
Okay. Which sounds gross to people, so please qualify.
Well, also, I mean, French ice cream has eggs. Gelato has eggs. It's not really all that rare. I mean, I guess you could argue that those are frozen custards too, except they're not made with what has come to be accepted as sort of the frozen custard machine.
Right.
Which is sort of a key player in that too. But I will say for people who have not had it, it's it's like ice cream, but it's very smooth. It's very rich. It has a sort of soft serve consistency, but it's got a smoother texture, I think, than soft serve. And we talk about that in the book too, that there's not, that the sort of quote unquote invention of frozen custard, which can be dated to a specific time.
Everybody wants to stake in the ground and here's my flag.
It does have precedence though before that.
Right.
Chinese ice cream for, thousands of years has had eggs in it. I mean, it's not, it's not really unique in the ingredients, it's the way it's made. So I mean, if this maybe I'm getting ahead of myself here, but really what we sort of considered as the birth of frozen custard is 1919, when the Core brothers, who are from Pennsylvania, they're dairy farmers from Pennsylvania. Archie Core, one of the brothers, invents a machine that's like it helps cycle air into the ice cream, and he takes his recipe, which has eggs in it, and he takes his machine. Which is basically the forefather of the machines that you see now in custard stands. And they take it to Coney Island, and they start selling cones, and they sell, like, the first weekend, they sell like 18,000 cones.
We think, McDonald's drive-through numbers, but that's epic in 1919.
Oh, right. Yeah. Huge. And I guess when you see like the Ouija pictures of Coney Island,
yeah, right.
Back in the day, it's not surprising when you see how many people were down there. But that's really what we consider to be the birth of sort of modern frozen custard as we know it today.
Sure. And so where does it go from the Core brothers and this invention?
So the Core brothers, they invent this machine. They start opening places. They end up splitting up. There ends up being like 3 different cores.
Eastern Seaboard, I presume.
Yeah, Eastern Seaboard.
Yeah.
But it starts to move west, and there's a place in Indiana that, at least as of recently, was still open and dated from before Milwaukee, from the custard era. I think St. Louis actually gets it before we do. And then what happens is some people decide to bring it to the
World's Fair, right?
The World's Fair in Chicago in 1933. And they open more than a dozen stands. It's all over. It becomes very popular. And for Milwaukee's purposes, a Milwaukee guy goes down there, tastes it, decides he's going to open it here. And that's sort of the birth of frozen custard here. Although, like all of these origin stories that we love, like you said, we love to have this point. Joe Clark, 1935, opens Clark's frozen custard, and literally everyone
in Milwaukee.
Okay. On 21st and Capitol. Literally everyone that we talked to who was an expert, like custard stand owners, custard mix suppliers, all say this is the moment it comes to Milwaukee.
Right.
I have news for you. I have found places that were open earlier.
But we don't have pictures. We don't have
pictures of them. They don't seem to have lasted very long.
Mm-hmm.
The details are very sketchy. I think they're people who must have come across it maybe in New York. Maybe they were at the Indiana place. Maybe they were in St. Louis.
Yeah.
They thought
they were just bad business people.
Give it a try.
Yeah.
But the first person who was really successful at it and made a go of it was Joe Clark. And Joe Clark is sort of locally famous for a number of reasons. One, he comes up from the South with his family, which includes his brother, Emery Clark, who founded the Clark Oil.
I was wondering.
Yeah.
I worked at a Clark station in high school.
Yeah. And before you, Joe worked for his brother at Clark in the early 30s until he discovers custard, and then he opens this custard and barbecue stand. But then after that,
so where from the South is he from? Do you know?
I think Georgia. I would have to check.
It makes perfect, custard and barbecue is not a combination you find now.
That's perfect, isn't it?
It's
right.
It's like ice cream and birthday cake, or it's coffee and cream, Duh.
It does seem perfect, although I don't think he brought this combination from the South because he didn't learn
because it's the salty and the tang.
Yeah.
And then the sweet and the creamy is happiness.
I could go for both right now.
Right, exactly. Yeah. If you're just joining us, this is Classic Eats, and I'm Kyle Johnson Cherek. Today, myself and author and journalist Bobby Tanzillo discuss the wonderful aspects of frozen custard and its history.
So then what Joe Clark really becomes sort of famous for in Milwaukee, if you have to be of a certain age, is Dutchland Dairy.
Oh.
Joe, after he opens the Clark's Frozen Custards,
Yeah.
starts a business called Dutchland Dairy, which is known for its custard, but also for like pots of, you know, these big buckets of fried chicken, and they sell milk and they sell all kinds of stuff. It's, you know, and there were ultimately like 17 locations around the area. So people of a certain age, I mean, they closed in the early 70s, late 60s, early 70s.
So this is funny to me. So Pennsylvania Dutch Coors brothers. Then it migrates to Milwaukee, and Joe Clark, probably not Dutch, opens up a place called Dutchland Dairy.
That is interesting. I don't know that there's any connection there, but that is an interesting. I never really thought about that before.
Coincidence threads.
Yeah. So Dutchland Dairy also helps kind of really. I mean, there's loads of reasons. I mean, loads of people who are selling custard in Milwaukee over the years, but Dutchland Dairy is a business that really kind of spreads it, because there's, like I said, there's 17 locations. They're in every corner of the area, and tons of people go there. It's hugely popular.
So frozen custard is not at all specific to, there's nothing about it that speaks to Wisconsin, Midwest, certainly Milwaukee. It could have been popular anywhere.
Absolutely.
And it obviously there's a proximity to dairy when supply chains are much smaller and less sophisticated. So that makes sense. But you had that where the Core brothers started in the East Coast, and I mean that's
and you have it in California.
You have it in California, right? There's nothing unique about that,
right?
And industrial advances in refrigeration were the same across the board. So why here?
You know, we tried to sort of get at that in the book, but I don't know that we ever really came to. I mean, lots of people have theories, you know, and the first theory we heard was from the Galloways up in Fond du Lac.
And the Galloways are the people that make the base, what would you call it? Formula.
The mix. Yeah.
The mix. So all custards come from one mix. Is that fair?
No, not necessarily. There's two main people that make mixes.
Okay.
But they will make different recipes with different amounts of milk fat and different, you know what I mean?
Okay.
There are variations in terms of that, and like fat content and that sort of thing.
But if you have an
analogy...
there's
Meadowvale in Illinois, and then there's Galloway in Wisconsin.
Okay, sorry to, But if you make the analogy that
did I just give away something?
No.
One of them's in Illinois?
No, not at all. No, that's fine. No, this is, but if you make the analogy like, we all get our wool cloth from one of two places and then we make our own clothes from that.
Yes.
And some do a heavier weight and some do a lesser weight.
Absolutely.
That you can draw a line back to these two mixed sources. Okay.
Yes. Almost nobody makes their own mixes.
Yeah.
Maybe Dairyland does. The Galloways, their theory is what you had sort of hinted at. Well, it's Wisconsin, there's all this dairy, but like you said, there's dairy everywhere.
Right.
Vermont has dairy, New York has dairy.
Yeah.
And they're not big custard places. Ron Schneider, whose dad, Leon Schneider, opened Leon's.
Leon's classic. When you picture 50s drive up ice cream burger, custard burger stand is Leon's.
Yeah.
I mean, it's straight out of Central Casting.
Yeah. His theory is that, part of his theory is that since it used to be a seasonal business, and if you look at all the early stands, they were seasonal. None of them had furnaces in them. They all closed for winter.
Okay.
That it built this demand in the off season. And so people would get excited about it because, hey, custard season is back.
Yeah. Spring is here. Summer is here.
So there's an argument that was said to us by Ron and some other people too, that that sort of focus on quality and making sure that everybody was selling good product is at least partially why it became popular here, because there were no bad custard place. Other places might have had a bad custard place, so it didn't catch on because people didn't like it. Yeah. Here we didn't have that. We had almost exclusively good custard places.
Like you talk about Leon, the son of, and so forth, and Elsa with Karl Kopp, and he's the son. Has it stayed that way? Because correct me if I'm wrong, but that's sort of a 50s and 60s generation.
If you look at Gillies, they're on to the second family, but the family that owns it now has owned it probably as long as the Gillis family owned it.
And the guys in Fond du Lac worked there when they were in high school. Yeah. The owners now. And
yeah. And the one in Tosa, the grandfather of the current owner worked at Gillis's in the 40s or something. I mean, he's been there almost the entire time.
It's this crazy sort of journeyman apprentice thing. Yeah. And we should say that this Gillies, if you say it the wrong way, or Gillis, however you want to say it, which is...
I take turns saying it both ways so that I'm half right.
It's on a main street, not a main street, not a busy street, but a pretty busy, sort of Milwaukee thoroughfare in a neighborhood called Wauwatosa, which is where Happy Days was supposed to have taken place. And many people think that Gillies is the inspiration for Al's Diner. Not the case, but...
Well, some people think it was the Milky Way on Port Washington Road, which is now Cops.
Right.
Some people think it was the Pig and Whistle, which was on Capitol Drive.
Which is on Capitol.
Has been demolished.
Yeah.
So everybody has their theories, and I think that is it Tom Miller? Is that the guy who created Happy Days? Who wrote Happy Days? He was from Whitefish Bay, and I think he said,
which is Milwaukee community.
Yeah, and I think he said that in his mind, he was thinking of that Milky Way on Port Washington Road, but with bits of even it was an amalgam of things even for him,
And so again, like the date that frozen custard started, we can't stick a flag in it, but it was these 3 or 4 places that were part of the time and the culture and the experience of driving up to that sort of thing that he turned into an iconic American experience for an iconic American television show. You get back into the science, so why it's eggs, but there's something more that makes frozen custard. There's a certain, if I understand from your book, there's a certain amount of water that's in it that isn't frozen that gives it that incredibly soft mouthfeel.
Well, what happens is, and this is why some places have taken the sort of less expensive route and used a soft serve machine for custard, but you could argue that even though it has eggs in it, it's not
That's not frozen custard. It's a Rolls-Royce kind of investment.
Yes.
It isn't a sort of, let's get the luxury version of the Camry.
Yeah.
It's a Rolls-Royce commitment.
Right. Yeah. But so a custard machine is made in what's called a batch freezer, where you put the mix in the top, it mixes it blends in the air, and it's sort of oozes it out into what's called a dipping cabinet, which is what the guys dip the thing, the scoop into to scoop it out. And it's meant to be served fresh. I mean, they will package what's there so that people can come in and buy it and take it home.
Yeah, but it's really, never the same.
No, it's really meant to be enjoyed fresh. So you put it in the mix in the machine, it comes out one end, you serve it, everybody's happy. It's smooth, it's creamy.
Yep.
It's just got just enough of that little meltiness that you love, you know. But if you put it in a soft serve machine, it mixes it and then it sits and then ice crystals form.
Right.
And then it spins again to kind of get rid of the ice crystals.
But it loses something. It loses
but
something.
Then it like gets more ice crystals. And then like, so it's just constantly battling this sort of like ice crystals situation. So which is why it has like, and you get that mouthfeel from the ice crystals when you have soft serve. It's got almost sort of like a little bit of grittiness that you'll never find in custard that's made in a batch custard machine, which is what Archie Core invented. That was the... So when you go in there in that big Carvel Custard King machine that like looks like actually a chrome Rolls Royce of ice cream machines, that's what he invented.
Yeah, cool.
I will say it's changing a little thanks to Culver's, which, you know, some people scoff at Culver's, but I will say that Culver's uses Wisconsin dairy. They use actual custard machines.
Yep.
I mean, they are sort of committed to doing it right.
Yeah.
And I think some people maybe don't like it just because they don't like it, but I think some people are just inclined to not like it because they think it can't be good because it's a chain. You know?
Yeah. But they invest in the Rolls Royce.
They do
machines and
he came up enjoying custard in Wisconsin.
Yep. Craig's
it's formidable in that way.
Yep. So when I did a national commercial for Culver's years ago for
I remember that.
Yeah, for one of their limited time offer burgers, and walking around the headquarters in Prairie du Sac, and there was a big custard machine in a hallway. And I said, "What's going on here?" He said, "That's the first machine that Leon sold me when I had this
they
idea."
had the A&W,
Yeah. And I told him about the Culver's idea, and he said, "Yeah, that's never going to work." He said, Craig Culver, who now, like, I don't know how many, 500 or so, 1,000, whatever franchises they have. I mean, here he is telling me, and he just can't get rid of the machine. Yeah. Because it's, you know, it's like throwing out your first baseball glove when you were in the little league and now you're in the majors. Like, why would you ever do that?
No, of course not.
Yeah.
That's awesome. It's great that he kept it.
It's so fantastic. And I love that Leon told him, yeah, that's never going to work.
Yeah, no, that won't fly.
Yeah.
Well, interestingly, I wonder if Leon was carrying a little baggage there because, you know, Leon's goal had been to open Leon's custard stands all along Highway 41.
Oh, interesting.
From Minnesota down to Florida.
I didn't know that.
And he had actually sort of started. There was Leon's, and then there was a Leon's across the street from Leon's, which is where the pizza place is now.
Okay.
And he opened one in Kenosha, which is now still a drive-in called Andy's. So he had started opening. His goal was to make it all the way down, and he never did.
Never quite. Yeah.
So maybe that was coloring his opinion of what would work.
Well, yeah. Make plans and the universe laughs.
Exactly.
Thank you so much, Bobby.
Thanks for having me. This is great.
Yeah, absolutely. This has been great.
Yeah, thanks.
And we should just go get some custard.
Let's do it.
That's our show. And if it's within reach, a drive, a walk, a run, go get yourself some frozen custard. And thanks for listening to Classic Eats.
Classic Eats is created and hosted by Kyle Johnson Cherek and co-produced by Apwan Productions and WUWM.
Executive producers Kyle Johnson Cherek and Rob Schoonover. Audio editing and engineering by Brian Arkta and John Rymaszewski.
Thanks for taking a seat at the table with Classic Eats. You can hear this episode again and any others you've missed when you subscribe to Classic Eats, found wherever you listen to your podcasts.